ESSIF-LAB sub-grants, payments, etc. So I will be presenting a bit about ESSIF-LAB, what it is that we're doing, what type of proposals that we're looking for, how much sub-grant money you can win in the upcoming infrastructure proposal, and a bit more like that. So let's just go. And by the way, we are with a small group, so if there are questions, of course, ask them in the chat, but where appropriate, you could also ask them directly. And please note that the webinar will be recorded, and used, as mentioned, use the chat for questions, or well, we'll see. And there will be time for Q&A after. So ESSIF-LAB is about, yeah, just it takes some time for the slides to change. Yeah, ESSIF-LAB, it's about facilitating electronic transactions. So we are in ESSIF-LAB is in the world where parties interact with each other electronically, and the one that we're most familiar with is consumer to business, where a consumer visits a web shop, but also business to business, and sometimes even machine to machine are definitely within the scope. And the whole idea is that before doing a transaction, you need to establish a form of trust between parties. So, for instance, are you sure that the other party is going to deliver? Are you sure that the other party is going to pay? This type of assurance. So when a person visits a website, he makes some checks to get to the point that he trusts that it's a reliable website. And on the other hand, the website is collecting information from the visitor to make sure that it's of the self-sovereign identity employer, and then there. And the idea is to make their wallet that all of you. The forms, the example here is just, but also parking permit in Toronto, all that stuff. It's taking a lot of time and hassle. I saw the question in the chat, and we'll leave that one to the Q&A later. So one manifestation is automatic filling of forms, where the web form looks into your wallet and sees whether it has already the answers ready that satisfy the request, and allow the user to fill it in from their own wallet. And of course, if they don't want to share it, they can always decide not to share, but at least the friction is becoming much lower. So this means inclusivity, speed, and ease for the individuals, and for organizations. They ask for all this information to manage the risk. For instance, the employer is managing the risk that he accidentally hires an uneducated employee. So the digitization assures that the quality is of better data, the validation is easier, the customer satisfaction is easier, because the less hassle for your customers, the better they stay with your service. Support of GDPR, especially since the data is in principle not stored by the website, but only the proof that something was presented. This really helps data minimization and GDPR. And of course, the whole SSI world is about new business opportunities. Again, so far, I hope that I've told you nothing new. What is new is how do we work? So we are a cascade funding project. The European Union pays us several million euros as a project, and our 4 partners have the responsibility, together with our evaluators, to select the best sub-grant projects and to cascade most of the funding to the sub-grantees. So we have up to 5.6 million euro of funding available for 2 types of open calls. The infrastructure-oriented open call, which is about technology, open source, that type of stuff. And the business-oriented open calls is about actual businesses, startups, new products, new services that either support the SSI ecosystem or that build upon them and use them as a basis. So how is this organized? We are writing out several open calls. So there has been the business-oriented open call that is already closed last summer. There will be a second business-oriented call, which will be, I think, upcoming summer. Ruud, please remind me, when is that one? Anyway, it's sometime in the future, and we are all here. Sorry, Almudena?
Late spring next year.
Late spring we need, yeah, late spring.
Late spring this year, thank you. So we are here for the infrastructure open call, which has its next close-off date on, okay, now, Almudena, help me again. What's the exact date of our exact deadline?
For the infrastructure called, our next deadline is in 4th January 2021. So January.
The 4th of January 2021. Yeah, I recall that I once said it wrong and I caused confusion. So this one is upcoming. So the way that we are organizing, well, this is a beautiful picture that you can study in detail. Wait till it pops up. Yeah, there we are. So at the infrastructure side, which is the side that you're going to look at, hopefully, we are working on SSI architecture development, the development of open source components, integration, interoperability testing, that's very important. And there are relations with the business open calls, exchanging vision, getting market feedback. And then ultimately the second business open call will be for developing sector and application specific functionality where the solution is based on services and open source produced by the other open calls. At least that's the plan. At this moment, we already have a lot of partners, and at the bottom you can see links to all the projects, all the sub-grantee projects that are already running. So I'm not going to explain them all in detail, but let's just pick out a few. We have Validated ID. They work on the EIDAS bridge, which makes a link between legal entities and SSI entities, for instance, identified through decentralized identifiers. And Validated ID is planning an interop test with, I think, 3 or 4 partners from the business-oriented call that have a business proposition, for instance, a notary proposition where a notary can electronically sign a document, and then, of course, you need to, and parties can electronically sign, and then you need to have the EIDAS levels of assurance to make these legally valid. So that's one of the interoperability projects that's happening. Another one is organized by Gattaca and has also like a handful, I think, a handful of partners involved. And the project that Gattaca is doing, I'm nicknaming it the Universal Verifier. So they're developing a solution with an open API where multiple SSI technologies with multiple verifier solutions have a common API, which means that you can have a single business process that supports multiple technologies. And this has the benefit that if your customer base uses multiple wallet technologies, that you can broaden your customer base. And this is a bit like with a bank. Your customers probably are from different banks, so you want to support for your web shop multiple banks. And in this way, and maybe also PayPal. And in this way, you can support multiple SSI solutions. Then another one is provided by YOLOCOM. They are offering a universal backup service. This is for wallets of all different types and kinds, where they have a secure solution to back up a wallet. So if your smartphone dies, then you don't lose all your verifiable credentials. And so when this happened, you can use the backup to reboot your smartphone and just continue life as it is. And they have also already links with several of the other partners that could integrate such a backup solution. So here are the details of the infrastructure-oriented call. It's aimed at European innovators. The goal is to develop open source SSI components. So you are required that everything that you're producing on the cost of the grant, all code will be open sourced. And we're talking about up to 155K per grant for a 9-month project. And Almudena had already mentioned, we're talking about the 4th of January, 1 o'clock Brussels local time. That's the next deadline. And I think it's now time for the questions that are in the chat. So there is the question from Julio that says, are organizations based in the UK allowed to participate in the program? And we have we have 2 UK sub-grantees. One of them is Evernym and the other is Verifiable Credentials Limited. So the answer about UK is yes. Then the second question, and here I need Almudena's help for Georgia. What is the status of Georgia, Almudena?
Hi. No, I think it's only European Union member states, their outer territories, and also countries linked to Horizon 2020. I think Georgia is none of these cases. I'm sorry to say so. And about the UK case, I would like to clarify that I know there's a lot of uncertainty there, and you're allowed to apply because you're eligible till December of this year. But please be aware that this will also be impacted on the results of the agreements around Brexit. Right. So I've included in the chat a link to the guide for applicants. You'll find more information there. So please check. Thank you. This is it. Thank you, Oscar.
Almudena, thank you. This really helps. So what are we looking for? We aim to support the development and implementation of open source components to the ESSIF-LAB basic infrastructure. So hopefully it will be used, whatever you make will be used by other sub-grantees. So the open call starts very soon, and the business-oriented call that will be using the open source components will be starting like 5 months later. So we hope to get some connections there. And the solutions, of course, should be interoperable, agile, and be within the concept of self-sovereign identity, which all of us know. So the picture that you're seeing here, don't be scared. Okay, yeah, there we have it. This is the architecture picture that we are using within ESSIF-LAB to sorry, within ESSIF-LAB to develop all the components and try to make clear where are the APIs. So we are seeing 4 layers. The bottom layer is about the crypto, the authentication, identification. This is also the realm where we have blockchains, and they are not the core business of ESSIF-LAB, but we have some sub-grantees that are making connections with them. For instance, about decentralized identifiers or so-called FIDO2 authentication. Then the big middle layer, you recognize it all with verifier, holder, wallet, issuer. And the reason that we are showing this in a single picture is this is actually an architectural model of an SSI agent. And the idea in our concept is that in every business transactions, you have mutual verifications. So is the web shop genuine? Is the employee genuine, etc.? So you have mutual verifications, which means that each agent should both be have holder and verifier functionality. But very often after the transaction has happened or is happening, new output is produced, which could be issued because it's electronically signed. So after you have bought something and you have paid or you have received it, you will get an invoice, you will get a proof of payment, you will get a customer satisfaction attestation, and all of these are issued by the parties. So this is the reason why in the ESSIF-LAB model, the agent is supposed to have both issuing, verifying, and holding capabilities. Then at the top, there are the more business-oriented layers, the more generic tooling like policy handling, and the actual sector-specific stuff that will be different per use case and per application. And on the right-hand side, you see how the infrastructure and business open calls sort of match to this picture. So as a first exercise, we have tried to make a mapping of our sub-grantees onto this picture, and the result is something that should show up any moment. It always takes some time for me to refresh the picture. Yeah, there it is, and for you to show it. So here it is. You can read these slides afterwards. We are still working on a more simpler way to explain to people what we are doing. And the challenge is, of course, that we are doing a lot. Ultimately, we will go to 60 or 50 or 60 sub-grantees. So I can't explain for every sub-grantee what they're doing. But for instance, the ones that we are having here in the middle, on the ESSIF-LAB, on the ESSIF glue layer, that is SSI-enabled contractual event passports. And this is the area where the ADAS bridge, for instance, is relevant. But yeah, you see that there is sub-grantees all over this picture. Okay, skipping to the next slide. Most likely you know already what you're working on, and most likely you already have ideas what is the things that you want to propose. But anyway, if you're looking for inspiration, here we have a whole list of things that we have come up with where we think, hey, this would be useful. So I mentioned already the secure credential storage. We have now one sub-grantee, Yolocom, that's providing that. But for instance, revocation services, at this moment we don't have any sub-grantees with dedicated revocation services. Or another one that we're still looking for is solutions that if a verifier asks for a credential to the holder and the holder doesn't have the credential, that there is some automation where the holder can easily get it from the issuer and in the same session present it back to the verifier again. So really the on-the-fly functionality, making it yet easier for the users. One more, that is countermeasures against coercion, SSI coercion. The idea is that when users have a wallet filled with credentials, this is a honeypot. And most likely malicious parties are going to try to mine that honeypot and lure or coerce citizens to surrender some of their credentials, maybe their health credential. I mean, very soon we are already getting coerced from our COVID-19 credential, which feels reasonable. But once we have stepped that line, maybe we also want to have other health credentials. And then the question is, what type of technical measures can you make to counteract such coercion? Or tooling for the governance of local assurance communities. For a verifier, it is very hard to keep track of all the issuers that are trusted. Is this a trustable university? Well, there are thousands of universities on the world, and a random employer is not keeping track of the electronic signatures and all their key rollovers for thousands of universities. So how can you organize this in a community with collaborations and tooling for that? I mentioned already the Gattaca approach, where they found a solution to integrate multiple SSI technologies in one easy view for the verifier. This is also types of solutions that we're looking for. So I hope that this list provides you with a bit of inspiration. And of course, these slides will be available afterwards. Then I think now the time has come to hand the stick to Almudena, because now we are going to the procedural part. And Almudena, just give me the hint, next slide, please, and I will click on.
Okay, that's fine. So as you can see here, this is the flow that proposals will have once submitted. You can find extended information about this also in the guide for applicants. After all the proposals are submitted, the evaluation procedure will just start. And then first stage in the evaluation procedure is the eligibility and quality check. You can see the criteria that will be evaluated during this phase in the guide for applicants, as I told you, but mainly eligibility is in formal requirements, is based in formal requirements. In quality check is to make sure that you know what you're proposing is kind of, you have enough track and experience in SSI domain, right? After that, the ones that go through that stage will go through the experts evaluation. We have an external experts pool with great knowledge in this domain, and those will score your proposals, and those which get higher scores will get to the consensus meeting, right? So the selected ones will sign an agreement, a subgrant agreement with the consortium. And once this is solved, then you can have access to the pre-financing. And there's also more information about the tranches of payments and financing that you'll get if you join the program. Next, please, Oscar.
I've clicked the next slide.
Yeah, no worries. It will come, sure. So about this formal criteria I was mentioning before, the eligibility, and I think that we had already a couple of questions in the in this. Those are very basic kind of. The components should be open source. They need to fit on our SSI concept, and they need to contribute to our framework vision architecture. You can check much more information in the ESSIF-LAB site if you want to, and you can also visit the framework, which is already available. Who can apply? This is legally established or resident in eligible countries. This is EU member states, their outside territories, and it's 2020 associated countries. You were asking before about the British case. This is a difficult one. And as I said, it's kind of, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't have either all the answers. It will depend on which type of Brexit we finally have. You can take part because UK during the transition period that is ending by December this year is still a member of the European Union. As such, you can apply, but we are not sure if you'll be entitled to receive funding after in January, right? It will depend on the conditions of the agreement they reach for the exit. As I told you before, kind of deadline is 4th January, and after that, the open call will still remain open until June, but we will stop in January and then evaluate the applications we got that far. Yeah, I must remember you that the language for the proposal and for the entire participation in the program is English. So please mind it when you create your application. And also, you'll be requested to acknowledge that you have no conflict of interest and that you're not in one of the EU exclusion criteria to get funding. And this means, for example, a difficult financial condition, right? So just for you to be aware. Next slide, please, Oscar.
Yep.
Yes, also wanted to bring your attention to the quality check. This is very important for us. We don't want people that is now starting to learn about what SSA context. We would like to have people which already know what they are doing. They already have knowledge in this domain, right? So every proposal will be checked about or related to these 3 criteria you're seeing on the screen. You can also see further information on how you can prove this in the guide for applicants I mentioned before, right? So main is have a past performance, so kind of people who already have knowledge about SSI, right? You also need to be agreeing and be able to contribute with our vision on the framework we're building. And this is in a big extent relying on cooperation and interoperability. So it will imply not only just the development of your component, but also a lot of cooperation with other participants in our project. So please be aware that if you are applying for this program, it's not just a matter of software development, but also a lot of heavy cooperation, right? And this is the 3rd criteria, speaking specifically about this, right? So there's a lot of cooperation involved. Next slide, please, Oscar. And this is the documents I've been referring to all along. And the conversation, please read them because they are detailed and they have a lot of information that will help you in building your application, right? So you've got the link there, but you can access easily to them through the microsite of the Open Core. I think that we already showed the link before, right? But in any cases, it's also available in the site, also available in the community. And if you have any doubts or if you still cannot find it, you just can contact us. And if you show the last slide, Oscar, please. Here you have the inbox of the project, and we will send you all the information that you need. Also, there's the community, and you can find a support space there where we will answer all the questions you have. And lately, in the last place, you have the framework. You can see there the work that is already ongoing and a lot of information about the vision, the mission, and how is the framework working, the architecture, right? So I think this is it from the operative side. And if you're happy with it, we can go and jump into the questions if you have any.
I don't see any questions also from the chat. So either we were very clear, or people are completely puzzled.
One of both, yeah. So if you prefer to turn your microphone on as kind of, yes, let us know. Challenges. We are not working on a challenges base, but in the guide for applicants that I was mentioning before, and also in the slides that Oscar mentioned previously, you can find a lot of examples and kind of the components we are interested in. Of course, we would like to see more components and ideas than those that we're working on. They have been already explained by Oscar, but we are not working in a challenge phase. No, I would recommend you to go for the technical analysis in the guide for applicants. Indeed. Any other questions? You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no further questions, then I thank you all for this participation. We still have one question. What is the procedure in case of overlapping solutions already selected in ESSIF-LAB Call 1 competition? Well, this is something we are looking into. So if it's 100% overlap, it's something we'll flag, and we will discuss with the committee whether this is a problem. If there is a partial overlap, so for instance, in the business-oriented call, we have 3 sub-grantees that each have solutions for legally binding electronic signatures. And we have noticed that they are addressing a different market with a different solution, so they could exist in parallel. So this is something that we will decide on a case-by-case. But yes, if we have duplications, then the committee, the evaluation committee, will make a decision on do we really want to have 3 excellent solutions that are doing the same? So yes, we are looking into that. There's another question about, by the way, let me first check whether this answers the question by Stefan. And by the way, feel free to use the microphone. Okay, then there is the question by Julio regarding the minimum quality criteria. Does a DIT spec method registered in the DIT specification registries satisfy this requirement? Well,
this is clearly for you.
This is definitely a question for me, but the focus of this project is not about developing DIT methods. You saw the architecture picture, so just the fact that you are running a blockchain and you have published a DIT specification in the DIT registry, that alone is not enough. But on the other hand, if you're doing some very interesting SSI stuff with it, that also has a link with the higher layers, then we're definitely interested. And a compliment from Neil. Thank you, Neil. Okay, if there are no further questions, you have our contact details. There is one question from Ruud. Ruud, unmute.
There's another question in the chat, Oscar.
Okay, which, let me see. Is a new blockchain considered as a component? Well, my answer would be the same as for previous. Let me just quickly skip to the architecture picture that I've shown you before, and wait for a moment that it shows. There we are. So blockchains, they are in the lowest layers, the SSI protocols and crypto layer. And even though we have APIs and connections to them, the development of blockchains themselves is out of scope of ESSIF-LAB. Okay, going once for questions, going twice, and I propose we close the meeting. You have our contact details, you will get the slides, and we are really looking forward to receiving your application to the ESSIF-LAB infrastructure call. And don't forget, the 4th of January, noon, or 1 o'clock Brussels time. Okay,
one additional thing, just wanted to mention, we will have probably a Q&A session early December. So please stay tuned in the community because you'll have an additional opportunity to ask your questions if you want to. And thanks, Nina, for the links. This is it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.